Hello everyone, my name is Rachel. Welcome back to my channel. Today I am starting another binge reading vlog for you guys, and that is going to be for the Selection series by Kiera Cass. The reason why I'm rereading this is, well, there's actually two reasons. One, Netflix announced that they are making a movie adaptation. Now, I don't think anybody knows if they are planning to do like a trilogy movie series or if they are just doing one movie for the entire trilogy. I think it could go either way because honestly there's not a ton that happens in each of the three books that I can recall. So you could plausibly make one video for all three books, or one movie for all three books. This is a series. The first book came out in 2012, so we are definitely doing kind of a throwback by rereading these books. I remember being so entertained by these books. I was in undergrad at this point, and this was just a really great series to read and just to binge because it's so messy and entertaining and just quick to read. Definitely can kind of turn your brain off while reading these books. So yeah, I'm really pumped about reading these. Also, Kayla from Books and Lala, I remember she mentioned in her tier maker video, I'll link that up in the cards above, that she wanted to do like a read along for the last week of May. So now that it's nearing the end of the month, I thought that I would just go ahead and read these now and document my experience with you guys. So I actually already started the Selection. Today is Thursday. I started this last night, pretty late last night, and I'm already at page 103, and that is just about 30% through this first book. So I thought that I would explain the overall plot and all of that, and I actually already have some thoughts, and I have some like pages and quotes underlined that I definitely reacted to. So I'm sure a lot of you have heard about this series being described as like The Hunger Games meets The Bachelor, and I think that is a very accurate description. Now that I have read the first 100 pages, the author explains the world pretty succinctly in those first 100 pages. And so basically we're in a futuristic dystopian United States of America, but it is now known as Ilia or Ilea. We do have a caste system going on from 1 being the highest all the way down to 8, I believe, is the lowest class. And class 8s are, I believe, homeless. And we have our main character whose name is America Singer, which that name alone makes me kind of roll my eyes now that I'm rereading this, just because her and her family are class 5s, and 5s are artists, so musicians and, you know, painters and sculptors and all of that. And so she is a singer. So the fact that her last name is Singer is like a little too on the nose if you ask me, but I mean a lot of people have definitely rolled their eyes at that, but whatever. Yeah, so we've got a caste system going on, and we also have a monarchy going on. And so when a new monarch comes of age, we have Prince Maxon. I'm not sure how old he is. I'm sure they'll go into that later. Like I said, I'm not even like halfway through this first book. When a prince comes of age in this monarch, they choose 35 girls from the 35 provinces of this country to compete to ultimately be his wife and the queen of Ilia. Now when a princess comes of age in this world, they have the princesses marry princes from other nations. So I find that interesting that there's a difference between if a prince comes of age versus if a princess comes of age. But I mean, maybe we'll get an explanation of that, but I literally remember nothing from this series. Also, something that I totally forgot is that at the beginning of this, America has a boyfriend named Aspen. He's actually a 7, I think, and it's really unheard of for a girl to marry a class below her. So they definitely have kind of a forbidden romance going on. And so the whole premise of this is that she ends up getting picked for the Selection when she really didn't want to. And so Aspen pretty much breaks up with her right before she leaves to go to the palace for the Selection. And so I guess that storyline is done now. I don't know. Maybe he's gonna come back and it can be like an actual love triangle. I already have quite a few page numbers that I put in my notes app that definitely made me roll my eyes. Let's start all the way at page 5. So let's talk about how America is so judgmental, girl, of like everybody in her life, starting with her own mother. Now I know that her and her mom don't have a great relationship because I don't know, her mom is the one who forces her to go into the selection, and just based on what we've read so far, they do not have a great relationship. But she judges her mom for like not having a perfect body. Let me read like a direct quote here. I looked over at my mother. For a 5, she was a little on the heavy side, which was odd. She wasn't a glutton, and it's not like we had anything to overeat anyway. Perhaps that's just the way a body looks after 5 children. Really, girl? What? Like, I read that line and I literally stopped reading and I was just like, that's so rude, girl. You are judging your mom for having kids and like for not having a perfect body. What is wrong with you? Then we have page 13 where Aspen first appears and he says, hey there, gorgeous. And she says, please don't call me gorgeous. First my mom, then May, now you. It's getting on my nerves. I mean, I can only imagine how, you know, having numerous people call you gorgeous would just be so annoying. Then we have some pages of when she's like getting in line to turn in her selection application, and she sees that there's a very long line of other girls from their province, I guess, but they were all like from different castes. And she says, a few yards back, another 7 was sporting a tool belt. The best I could say about her was that her face was clean. Like, really, girl? You're gonna judge someone who's 2 classes below you because they have to do hard labor, so they can't afford to go like fix themselves up to make them look nice for this picture? The audacity of America already, girl. Like, there's this other quote on page 39 where they're like discussing different girls that they saw in line that day, and she's like, I don't know, there was that girl who had on so much red lipstick, she looked like she was bleeding. Maybe the prince likes that kind of thing. And then on page 45, we have her even judging Prince Maxon. The direct quote here, let's see, it says, Maxon was so stiff and quiet. It was hard to imagine anyone being happy with such a wimp. She just like, ooh, like she thinks she's better than everybody else. Also, before I forget, I wanted to say that this vlog is going to be spoiler free. I will be talking about characters, of course, and their relationships with one another. And I will be doing things like this where I read direct quotes and react to them. I don't consider that to be very spoilery at all, so I think we are good. One more quote that I wanted to read was from page 69. She's telling Aspen that she was told by somebody who works for the palace that she can't turn down Maxon for anything. She has to be down to clown, essentially. So then Aspen is like, oh, even if he doesn't want to marry you, he could do that? And she's like, yes. And he says, I'm sorry, I didn't know. He took a few deep breaths. But if he does pick you, that'll be good. You deserve to be happy. That was it. I slapped him. You idiot, I whispered, yelled at him. I hate him. I loved you. I wanted you. All I ever wanted was you. And I'm like, you just slapped him, girl, for like telling you that you deserve to be happy. First of all, I never condone physical violence. Second of all, he didn't even deserve it, girl. Like, you're slapping him for saying something nice. I am really excited to get back to reading this. I'm definitely gonna finish this today. Each of the books I think has about 300 pages, so I'll definitely finish this today. And then I will hopefully be able to read a good chunk of The Elite as well. So yeah, with that being said, I will talk to you guys. All right, hey guys, it's been a few hours. I just finished the selection, so I thought I would bring up a few thoughts and kind of wrap up my thoughts about the book overall. Something that I really love about Maxon and America's relationship is that they start off as friends. I really like the friends to lover trope in general, but I like how it's used in this book especially. I'm also really enjoying Prince Maxon's character. I totally forgot that he is like the definition of a cinnamon roll. He is such a sweet guy. And that reminded me of, you know, I was talking about how Netflix is turning this series into a movie, but do you guys remember when, I think it was like the CW tried to pick this up for a TV series, and they released a pilot, I think, or I think they released like clips from a pilot. And one thing that stuck out to me about that adaptation was the way they portrayed Prince Maxon was like literally the opposite of what he is in the books. Like, they portrayed him as like this arrogant playboy, and just not a very likable character. And why would you completely change his his character like that. I think he's perfect the way he is in this book. So yeah, I think there's also clips of that still on like YouTube and stuff, and I'm so glad that it didn't actually get picked up. The moment that I really love between America and Maxon is on page 143. America's just telling him about her family. So America says, "Then there's me." Maxon smiled effortlessly. "America Singer," he announced, "my closest friend." I just thought that was such a sweet moment. So like a few pages later, there is a moment that like completely shook me. I don't want to like spoil exactly what happens, but they essentially have a fight like 3 pages after that, and Maxon tells her to like go to her room and she's to have dinner in her room, and I was just like, goop, like, girl, I did not expect Maxon to like have a moment like that. Also, I love how confused Maxon is in terms of how to treat women. He talks about how he's very sheltered. This is his first time ever trying to date anyone. And so he asks America's advice about like how to behave around women when they cry. But it is really cute. Like America's just like, okay, like just put your hand on their shoulder when they're crying, you know, just comfort them. You know, a very normal thing to do. And I love that he's just like so perplexed by that. That like completely shook him. He didn't even know that that would work. This book is so fast-paced. I flew through this. I've been listening to the audiobook while reading it simultaneously, and I listen to audiobooks at like 2.5 speed. So yeah, I flew through this book. Yeah, if you are a fan of anything along the lines of like Gossip Girl, also a book that reminded me of the selection. I recently read American Royals by Katherine Mcgee. I'll talk about that book in my end of May wrap-up because I read it like a week ago, and it definitely gave me like Selection vibes because of like the messy drama. Obviously this is The Bachelor set in a dystopian world, so if you love that show, obviously you should read this. Yeah, this is just the epitome of teen drama, and I'm so here for it. I think I'm giving this 5 stars because I was so entertained by it and the characters and all that I really enjoyed. I will say part of me is conflicted about America because of the way she treats Maxon in a way, because sometimes she's very like hot and cold with him. And part of me is annoyed about that because Maxon is such a sweet guy. But on the other hand, I do understand why she feels the way that she feels, especially because towards the end of this book, she realizes that she's kind of starting to fall in love with him. That is a mutual feeling, but Maxon is still very much behaving in a romantic way with the other girls in the selection. So I understand where she's coming from, but on the other hand, I'm just like, oh, don't like toy with him like that. I'm not a fan of that, but at the same time, I get it. Also, earlier when I said that there's not going to be a love triangle, I definitely lied. I mean, let's face it, this is YA dystopian written in 2012. Of course, there's going to be a love triangle. I don't know why I discounted Aspen's character. Also, because it says this on the cover of the second book, I don't think this is very spoilery, but it says 35 girls came to the palace, only 6 remain. So that is a very major plot point to this book. And the way it happened in this book was so fast and so sudden. I was shook. So yeah, with that being said, I was very, very entertained by this reread and settling on a 5-star rating. So yeah, with that being said, I'm gonna go take a shower because I definitely really need to, and then I will get started on the Elite. Like I said, it's like I'm reading it for the first time. I really don't remember anything. So I'm very excited to see what happens in the series going forward. Morning, everyone. I just woke up maybe 5 minutes ago, which is why my voice sounds a little bit scratchy, but I wanted to do an update for The Elite by Kiera Cass. I actually read up to page 200 last night, so I only have about this much left to read. So I think I'll be able to finish this within the next couple of hours, and then I can get started on the one, which is the 3rd and final book. I'm kind of thinking that I might be able to read this entire book today as well. So I'm about at like page 27 at this point. And oh man, she is already flip-flopping so much between Aspen and Maxon, so much, and it's annoying because she judges Maxon and she gets pissed at Maxon because he's still I don't know, being romantic towards the 5 other girls that are still in the selection at this point. So he keeps telling her, as soon as you tell me you're ready, I'm going to send all the other girls home and you are the one that I want, you know? But she's just like, I need more time, I need more time. And so, yet she has the audacity to be pissed at him for trying to secure another wife if she turns him down ultimately. And I'm just like, okay, girl. Then we have a really good quote on page like 61 onto page 62. May, who is America's younger sister, she's at the palace visiting, and she asks one of the girls, oh, I think she's asking one of America's maids, what's it like to be in love? And Lucy says, it's the most wonderful and terrible thing that can ever happen to you, she said simply. You know that you found something amazing and you want to hold on to it forever. And every second after you have it, you fear the moment you might lose it. I sighed softly. She was absolutely right. Love is beautiful fear. I really loved that quote. I thought that was really well done. And then one other thing that I wanted to bring up, throughout these 2 books, there have been several rebel attacks where these group of rebels are able to get onto the palace grounds and into the palace very easily. And like, I don't understand why there isn't better security. Like, they've got like a ton of guards, and I don't know, Maxon mentions that they have like an alarm system and like all this stuff. And I just don't get why it's so easy for these rebels to get into the palace. You know how dangerous these rebel groups are. Some of them are like literally out for blood. They want to like kill the monarchy. Yeah, that like literally makes no sense to me. But yeah, I'm still very much enjoying this. I'm very interested to see how this one ends in particular. And then, like I said, I will go straight into the 3rd and final book. So yeah, with that being said, I will talk to you guys later.
2 hours later.
I just finished the Elite. It's just about 12:45 right now. Yeah. So I don't have a ton of thoughts. I did have one quote that I wanted to bring up that really annoyed me about America. So, you know, I've mentioned earlier in the vlog that this is a love triangle, and she's talking to Aspen at the moment. So she says, if anything, you're the one constant. I know that if everything turns upside down, you'll still be there in the exact same place. Everything gets so crazy that my love for you gets pushed to the background, but I know it's always there. Does that make sense? Like, she's keeping him on the back burner in case things go south with Maxon, and just like the way she worded that specifically really got under my skin. I just like don't think that Aspen deserves to be kept on the back burner, even though he's not my favorite character in this series. I definitely like Maxon more, although I will say things happened in like the later part of this book that definitely kind of made me second guess Maxon a little bit. There's some things that he does that I feel like are a little bit out of character for him based on the first book and the first half of this book, that definitely paint him in a different light. Also, I wanted to mention that I think I'm settling on a 4-star rating for this. It's not as iconic as the first book. It's not as entertaining. I don't know, things change a lot in this book, and I don't know, it's just got a different feel and a different vibe from the first book. So yeah, for me, it's gonna be a 4-star. But yeah, with that being said, I'm going to get started on this book, and I will talk to you guys later.
6.5 hours later.
All right, so it is just about, let's see, 8:15 or so on Friday, and I finished The One by Kiera Cass, which of course is the 3rd and final book in the Selection trilogy. I thought I would just kind of bring up a couple more like discussion points and then wrap up my thoughts on this book and this trilogy as a whole. I'm not going to talk too much because, you know, let's face it, this is just a messy, YA dystopian romance trilogy. I don't think it's a series that is meant to be analyzed very much. You know, it's definitely not high art, it's not high literature or anything like that. This is just a fun series, and I do think it's fun to discuss the characters a bit. So the first thing I want to talk about is Prince Maxon. As this series has gone along, I've definitely felt more and more conflicted about his character. I absolutely loved his character in the first book. I thought he was perfect. Then as we were going along in the second book, we're kind of seeing that he says and does things that are not the best, I don't know, in terms of his relationship with America, but also in terms of his relationships with all of these girls, especially in the elite. You know, he's narrowed it down to like 5 or 6 girls at this point. And there's one particular scene at the very beginning of this book where America tells him that she had a really good conversation with the other elite girls, and they all fessed up to how physical they've been with Maxon. And Maxon got so pissed. He was like, do I not have any more privacy and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, boy, you are the one that is making out with like 5 different girls at the same time. Don't whine to me about your privacy. Also, in terms of Prince Maxon, yes, he's no longer the perfect character that we saw in the selection, but at the same time, I do think America kind of makes him lose his mind and makes him go crazy a little bit. And I think that's one of the reasons why he ends up getting more physical with the other girls that are part of the elite. I think he's just kind of lost it. So we've still got quite a bit of flip-flopping with America throughout most of this book. It's not till towards the very end that she really realizes that she loves Maxon so much and that she truly needs to let Aspen go. And speaking of the love triangle, I don't know how to feel about this love triangle because I like both of the guys. I don't really have a problem with Aspen. I think he's totally fine. Like I said, I've felt a bit conflicted about Maxon, but I do think that by the end of the book, Kiera Cass does a really good job of redeeming his character. I think that by the end, we as the reader come to totally accept America and Maxon together because they're both very flawed people. You know, yes, they fight a lot, but at the same time, like, they're pretty perfect for one another. And yes, they've hurt each other time and time again, especially in this book. Like I said, there's a lot of fighting going on. There's a lot of like betrayal happening. But I don't think anybody can deny that these two characters definitely do belong together. But yeah, kind of going back to the love triangle, I think it's okay. It's definitely not the best love triangle that I've ever read about, but at the same time, it's not the worst. You know, this was written in like 2012, 2013. I think this came out in 2014. So love triangles were definitely expected, you know, back then. Then in terms of America's character, I feel like she does go through some character growth throughout these 3 books. I'm definitely less annoyed by her than I was in the first book. You know, and I like what she stands for. I like that she's pretty fearless for, you know, those that she cares about, and I don't know, for justice in general. Also, another thing I wanted to bring up, I haven't talked about this character at all in this vlog, but there's this character Celeste who's kind of like the villain of the selection. I don't mean that she's the villain of the series, I mean that she's like the villain of the actual competition. You know, in the first book, she's seen kind of trying to sabotage other girls, and her and America definitely don't have a good relationship. But I loved that in this 3rd and final book, they actually had like a heart-to-heart early on. I want to say around like page like 90 or so, and then from then on they became really good friends. I love that Kiera Cass kind of gave her that redemption arc. I definitely think it was necessary because I hate reading about girl hate. So I'm glad that Celeste kind of got over herself, and I'm also glad that the other characters involved in the selection forgave her and that they ultimately got closer by the end. I also like that a big theme in this 3rd and final book is kind of getting to the roots of how Ilya or Ilea was formed, and kind of Maxon and America both coming to terms with the fact that things definitely need to change and how they can actually implement those changes. We're definitely focusing more on like political aspects of this country, so it's definitely not as entertaining as the first book was, and I think that's the main reason why I'm settling feeling on giving this a 4-star rating. That being said, I still think that it's a very solid conclusion to the trilogy, and overall I am really happy that I did decide to reread these books years later. And I would love it if you guys would leave a comment down below if you want to discuss anything having to do with these books. I would prefer if you would leave spoilers out. And yeah, I would definitely recommend this series, especially if you love messy YA drama and you kind of want to take a trip back in time to the 2012 era of dystopian YA fiction. And I'm very excited to see what the adaptation is going to look like. Obviously, there's probably not going to be much going on with that, with everything that's going on right now. I'd love to just get some casting news at this point. I'd love to see who they cast as America and Maxon for one thing. All right, guys, that's going to be it for this reading vlog. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope that you would consider pressing that like button and subscribing, and I thank you if you do. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!